So if you're one of the 40% of Australians or Victorians who rents, how does it help you? It's very simple. As the number of public houses increase, there'll be downward pressure on rents. Rents will drop. And as rents drop, investors will flee the market because they're not making a buck. And housing prices, the lower end of the market, will drop, which allow people who are renting, give them the ability to actually buy, get a mortgage and buy a home. That's as public housing stocks increase. If the number of public housing stock increase, the actual price of real estate, except at the upper end of the market, will decrease. So that actually puts downward pressure on interest rates for our purchasers. And if everybody's got safe, secure housing, there'll be downward pressure on crime, social dislocation, psychological stress, because we're not islands, we are part of the community. And although we live a very comfortable, many people comfortable consumer lifestyle, it's extraordinary how many people in this country are antidepressant drugs or anxiety drugs, 1 in 5 currently. Huge amount, because there are all these stresses. So a strong public housing sector is good for the economy, because instead of you paying 30 to 40% of your income on housing, you pay 25% of your income, which means you've got a greater amount of money to spend in the community. And in a time when there's no wage growth because unions have been legislated out of existence and unionists have been criminalised by the criminal justice system, this is one way of actually giving the economy a boost, especially today. So what do we do? Well, we have been protesting here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House for the last 3 years with minimal, if no success. I stood as a candidate in the Victorian state election against the minister at that stage, Mr. Foley, with minimal success. We had a 10-day protest here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House, although we kept the banner up about quarantining stamp duty revenue for public housing for 10 days, and it was raining and there was lightning and there were storms and we had scuffles with the police and security. We stayed those 10 days right up to the time that we had the state election. Now on the 21st of June, for you, all you wizards and warlocks and white witches and black witches, is the winter solstice. It's a pagan festival. It's the shortest day of the year and possibly the coldest day of the year. While you're enjoying your little soirée into the paganism, let's remember all those Victorians who are sleeping rough. 50 metres from here, there are people sleeping on the footpaths. 100 metres from here, there are 200 to 300 people huddled in a Salvation Army hostel. In the alleyways, there are people sleeping rough. In every suburb, there are people sleeping rough in midwinter. We will have a 24-hour vigil on these steps to highlight not just the plight of the homeless, but to highlight the urgent need for a radical shift in the focus of the 88 members of the Legislative Assembly and the 40 members of the Legislative Council in the Victorian Parliament. Instead of wasting their time, building roads, building offices, making tunnels, doing deals with private corporations, let's focus on the immediate needs of Victorians. Now, we can't do this alone. We expect that this campaign will run to the next election in 2022, and we will continue to conduct this campaign, but we can't conduct it without you. So if you have a mortgage, if you rent, if you're homeless, if you're couch surfing, if you're an investor, even investors we welcome. This is a campaign which is aimed to cause a major shift in this government's and this opposition's policy. And it was quite interesting to see the Liberal National Party, the opposition in Victoria, is beginning to understand how important public housing is becoming, how this issue is becoming, and how important it is that we have public housing. So we invite you, that's right, I'm inviting you as the convener of Public Housing Everybody's Business, to come down here on the 21st of June, which is a Friday, midnight to midnight, 24 hours. Bring your camping gear, bring yourself, bring your family, bring your children, bring your unruly teenagers, you know, bring your grandmother and your great-grandmother. Let's make a stand. Let's highlight how important public housing is in 2019. Let's highlight to the 88 members of the Legislative Assembly and the 40 members of the Legislative Council that we as Victorians want them to act regarding these. These are magic steps. These are magic steps. These steps are paved with gold. They're paved with the real estate stamp duty revenue. And that revenue, that $6 to $7 billion, should be quarantined to provide public housing for people in this country. These steps lead to the 88 members of the Legislative Assembly and the 40 members of the Legislative Council. They can make that decision to quarantine stamp duty revenue for public housing. But they won't make that decision because power doesn't lie here. It lies in the boardrooms of national and transnational corporations, in large real estate agencies who do not want competition from the public housing sector. So we need to tell these people in here that it's about time they put the interests of people before the interests of roads, that they put people before roads, to spend tens of billions of dollars over the next 4 years on infrastructure and $203 million on public housing is not only obnoxious, it's irrational, and more than it's irrational, it's unbelievable that we allow them to get away with this. So join us on the 21st of June, 24 hours. This will be one of many actions to highlight this issue. And people say, why don't you go out in the streets? Well, this is where the decision will be made. These are the steps. These are the steps that lead to the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. It's these steps which are the steps to a secure, safe, affordable housing. And if one thing the Eureka Rebellion taught us, it's that when people act together for an issue and put pressure on governments change their strategy quickly, very quickly, exceptionally quickly. But they won't change it unless you become involved. So join us on the 21st, see what else we've got planned. We're thinking about marches through the suburbs. We're thinking about continuing these protests here on a weekly basis. We will be continuing. We'd like to see a 24-hour picket line for the next 3.5 years here at Parliament House. To do that, we would need 300 people who are willing to donate 6 hours of their time once a week to holding up that banner. But it's up to us. If there's one thing the federal election result has shown us, is that many people are confused about where their best interests lie. To vote for a party that supports negative gearing, that supports the business sector, that will have to squeeze social security beneficiaries in order to balance your budget. And I've known many pensioners who have actually voted for the Liberal National Party because they believe the propaganda that somehow they would lose their franking credits. Well, most pensioners don't have franking credits, and pensions have nothing to do with franking credits. And if you're a pensioner with stock market investment, you wouldn't have lost your franking credits. So we are fighting against very powerful forces who will attempt to marginalise us, criminalise us, say that we don't know what we're talking about. We know what we're talking about. It's very simple. It's exceptionally simple. If you quarantine real estate
stamp duty revenue for public housing. You can house all the homeless within a month, everybody on the Victorian waiting list within a year, 1 million Victorians within a decade, and every state and every territory can do the same. We can put downward pressure on rents and decrease rents for people who can't afford public housing. We can decrease prices at the lower end of the market, allowing young people to buy their own homes, and we can actually put downward pressure on mortgage repayments and interest rates. And most importantly of all, we can improve the lives of tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands of Victorians and Australians, improve their lives by decreasing the anxiety, the psychiatric and psychological issues, the family violence issues, the personal crisis which occurred when people spend most of their waking hours concerned about how they're going to meet their rent payments, how they're going to meet their mortgage repayments, how they're going to survive in an era when most people are spending 30 to 40% of their income to keep a roof over their head. So join us midnight to midnight, Friday the 21st of June, here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House. These are the magic steps. Forget about the wizards and warlocks and the black witches and the white witches and the pagan festivals and the winter solstice. These are magic steps. They lead to two chambers, the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. The 88 representatives of the Legislative Assembly and the 40 representatives of the Legislative Council have the power, the constitutional power. They have the power to quarantine stamp duty revenue for public housing and resolve this country's housing crisis and housing affordability crisis. See you on the 21st.
My name's Joseph Toscano. I'm the convener of the Public Housing Everybody's Business campaign, which we're conducting to promote the idea of public housing. We would like to see real estate stamp duty revenue, $7 billion per year in Victoria, quarantine for public housing. Join us for the Winter Solstice Public Housing Festival here on the steps of the Victorian Parliament House, midnight to midnight on Friday the 21st of June. Bring your families, bring your great aunt, bring your musical instruments, bring food, bring blankets, bring yourself. Let's put public housing back on the political, social and cultural agenda in this state and in this country. Join us 21st of June, midnight to midnight Friday, midnight to midnight. 24 hours of fun festivities, and if you've got a musical instrument, bring it along. The more the merrier. And if you want to come dressed as a wizard or a witch or a goth, it's the winter solstice, you're welcome.